Hi everyone, my name is Catherine. Welcome back to my channel. On this channel, you'll find videos all about blindness, visual impairments, and living life regardless of those things. Especially when it relates to fun hobbies or activities that you like to enjoy. I know I really enjoy things like drawing and painting. I really enjoy martial arts and sort of expressing myself in ways that we don't typically think of blind or visually impaired people expressing themselves in those ways. So I'm exploring those. I'm exploring all those things. You may also on occasion find videos about online teaching, since I am an online ESL teacher. And I also like to share my journal with you guys sometimes, especially when I'm setting up for a new month. So those are all the different things that you'll find on this channel. And today, I was really inspired by a video from Temi over at Temi Danso Art. And I will link her channel and the video in particular that I'm referring to down below. I was really inspired to think about the way in which I imagine things, the way I visualize the world or just different things around me, based off of a discussion that she's having over on her channel about aphantasia. And if you don't know, again, go check out her video because it's really, really fascinating. She can give a much better definition and idea of what exactly aphantasia is. My understanding is that aphantasia, I'll probably switch between the two pronunciations. It's when you close your eyes and literally cannot visualize anything. There is no picture in your head. You can see things, you can be a fantastic artist as Temi is without being able to necessarily picture things in your mind. But her discussion really got me thinking about the way that I visualize. She had, at the beginning of her video talking about what she sees when she closes her eyes, she had everyone do this really awesome exercise. And I'd like to share it here. If you close your eyes and now picture a table. And then picture something on that table. Maybe it's a bowl of fruit, maybe it's a vase of flowers. Picture something, and what do you see? Now, if you see something, you don't have aphantasia. If you don't see anything, then you might. Or perhaps there's something else going on visually that, you know, perhaps you are blind, you know? And perhaps you didn't need to close your eyes. But I thought this was really interesting because when I close my eyes and I picture a table, I'm not just picturing a table. I'm not just seeing a table, right? I'm seeing a piece of a table. So when I go to actually imagine an item, whether it's because I want to draw it or simply because I'm thinking about something, or maybe I'm, you know, planning out my window boxes for summer, what herbs am I going to put in my window boxes, how do I want it to look, anything like that. When I go to picture something, I don't just see it, I also feel it. So when I close my eyes and I picture a table, I'm not just looking at a table. I am imagining myself walking up to the table and feeling the table, right? So I'm defining the size and shape of the table by actually imagining what it feels like. What does it feel like when I step up to that table? Where on my body does it come? That's going to give me the height of the table. Where, like, if I were to run my hands out to either side, how far do I have to reach? Can I touch either end of the table? Can I not? What does the table feel like when I do that? Is it smooth? Is it rough? I'm imagining kind of a glossy table, but I can still feel the wood grain. But I feel that, right? And that informs what I then may want to represent visually in a drawing or in a painting. That informs what I might want to do in terms of decorating a room. You know, if I'm rearranging my bedroom and I'm just kind of, you know, sitting on the couch or laying in bed at night, just kind of figuring out and planning out what I want to do before I drift off to sleep, I will sort of go around the room. And I'll figure, okay, I'm going to put this here, I'm going to put that here. Ooh, no, I think I should put that bookshelf in the corner. But as I'm doing that, part of doing that is also having this sense of the height of things. You know, I've had my hands on these objects because they're in my room. They're, you know, my bookshelves, my little stands and tables, my little like drawer, like plastic drawer things. They're in my room. They're my things that I've had for a very long time. And so I know what they feel like. I know about what size they are and the height they are and how much space they all take up. And it's the same idea as what I was talking about in my video from a few weeks ago about how training capoeira has helped me to have a sense of my own body and how much space I physically take up in the world, and having that sense, but then being able to translate that to objects, because that's how I interact with things. So when I'm picturing something in my mind, I can see it a little bit because I can see it in real life, but I also am imagining, if I'm imagining a table, I'm also imagining that I'm touching the table. And what does that table feel like? And if it is sort of a varnished table, is it smooth? How does that varnish feel? Is it smooth? Did it kind of sink into the grains of the wood? Are the grains of the wood actually really big, kind of like some of those picnic tables or picnic benches that you might find out at public parks? Or is the grain of the wood really, really close and tight so that you can't really feel it? And does the varnish then just sit on top and so it's very smooth, almost like glass? And that's how I visualize stuff. When I visualize a cup of coffee, let's say, oh look, a cup of coffee. What I'm doing here as I'm holding this cup of coffee in my hands is very much what I do when I visualize, when I imagine this cup of coffee, right? So I know that this cup is white. You know, I know there's some red writing on it and a little logo, a little red tree. So this cup is essentially red and white. So I know that. But in order to really understand the shape of it, because I can see the shape of it, but I also feel the shape of it. And again, this is one of my favorite coffee cups. So this is a cup that I am very familiar with because I use it a lot. How does it feel in my hands? How does the cup itself feel? Is it smooth? Is it rough? It's very, very smooth. Okay, so it's a smooth coffee cup. So this cup, if I were to paint it, is going to have highlights. It's going to have like those sort of bright highlight reflections almost, because it's very smooth, which means it's going to be sort of a shiny surface. So I'll know that I need to add those where it would make sense to add them. The handle is quite large. Oh, but it's not large enough that my whole hand can fit super easily. You know, my small finger here runs into it, hits the side of the cup. Okay, good to know. And that informs, again, when I go to draw it, that's going to inform how big I might make the handle, and how far away from the cup it might end up being. When I imagine a coffee cup, I very rarely imagine it empty. Even if I'm going to draw it empty, I rarely actually imagine a coffee cup empty, because they're not useful to me when they're empty. They need to have something in them. It can be coffee, it can be tea, it doesn't really matter what it is, but it needs to have something in it. So I'm also imagining the weight when I hold it. There's heft here, there's some weight here. And even though this cup isn't full anymore, it's not empty, but it's not full. So even though it's not full, it still has weight to it. The liquid inside changes the balance of how I need to hold it. It changes, it moves, it changes as I move the cup. I can feel the liquid inside moving. And so that's going to also not necessarily change how I draw it, but it's going to make it seem more real to me than if I simply picture a cup of coffee. If I simply picture a coffee cup, that's not very real to me, and it's going to seem, at least as I'm drawing it or painting it, it's much less interesting, which I don't know if that comes across in the painting. I probably don't have enough skill yet to really make that come across, but when I picture things in my mind, I'm seeing less than I'm feeling. I'm seeing less than I'm sensing, because that's how I interact with the world. Even from the coffee cup, okay, there's liquid in here, and yes, it's still slightly warm. How does coffee smell? If I'm picturing a coffee cup, very likely I'm going to be picturing, and I'm going to be imagining the smell of coffee. I might even imagine the taste of it. Or it can be right in front of me and I can take a drink, and I don't have to picture the taste of it because I can taste it. It's really good coffee. So that is how I imagine things. That's how I picture things. That's how, when I visualize things, that's how that works. Something else that I do when I imagine, when I'm building a picture in my mind, is I jump around a lot. Visually, I jump around a lot. And I don't know how apparent it is. Take the glasses off here, maybe you can see. I don't know how apparent it is on camera, but my eyes constantly move. And I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this in other videos, but my eyes are always moving. And it gets more pronounced when I'm tired, and it gets more pronounced, from what I've been told, it gets more pronounced as I'm trying really hard to actually hold them steady and to really focus on something in particular. They shake even more. It's called astigmatism, and it's when your eyes just constantly move. And for me, part of why my eyes constantly move is because my field of vision is so tiny. It's itty bitty. And so in order to build a complete picture of whatever's in front of me, whatever I'm looking at, my eyes have to move. I mean, I could just be constantly moving my head, but that's annoying. And that probably wouldn't help anyway. So my eyes are just always moving, and it's not conscious. This is not something I have control over. It's not something I can fix or help in any way. It's just the way my eyes work. And I think, and no one has actually ever said this specifically to me, but I think that part of that is because my field of vision is so small that my eyes constantly moving helps me to actually get a picture of what in the world I'm even looking at. Because if I were to just hold them completely still, which I can't anyway, but I can, focus on something for a bit, you know, if I hold them completely still, then all I see is what's immediately in front of my eyes, and that's not super helpful. So by being able to move them constantly, it helps me to see more. It helps me to get more of an idea of what I'm actually looking at. And so when I'm visualizing, that's what I do. I just, you know, we'll go back to the example of the table with the fruit on it. Yes, okay, I'm going to walk up to the table and I'm going to assess the height of it, where it comes on my body. I'm going to assess when I spread my arms out. Put my glasses back on. There we go. When I put my arms out, I'm going to assess the width. But at the same time, there's the bowl of fruit on the table, and there's the table itself to look at, and there's the lighting to consider. And for me, for whatever reason, this particular picture is one that I'm imagining is happening at night, and I'm imagining it in what you would probably consider a very well lit room, what I would consider to be a very dimly lit room, because again, the lack of night vision. What most people consider perfectly adequate, if not pretty good lighting, for me is pretty useless. Like, really pretty useless. So I'm imagining this in a very dimly lit room from my perspective, and I'm bouncing around. My eyes are bouncing from the table itself to the bowl of fruit, to the bananas up here on, you know, on the top of the bowl, to the green apples that are down on the right hand side, kind of at the base, peeking up out of the bowl, to the oranges in the middle, to the grapes that are maybe drooping off to the side, and back and forth and back to the table, and then to the other side of the table and back to the bowl, and oh look, there's a shadow. Okay, there's a shadow being cast by the bowl, and back and forth and all over the place. I don't just picture a static picture. My eyes are always moving all around, and at the same time that my eyes are moving, I'm imagining the feel of the table, the shape of the bowl. If I pick up the bowl of fruit, is it going to be heavy or light? What's that going to feel like? How's the balance going to be with the fruit in there? How does the fruit smell? How does the fruit feel? I'm even going to like touch the bananas and touch the oranges and the apples. You know, I might even like feel the grapes and see, like, do they feel firm or soft? This is how I imagine things. This is how I picture things, because I can't just look at something. You know, when I cook, I touch everything. I touch the dough. I always wash my hands. I wash my hands so much they get so chapped because I need to have my hands on my food. I need to have my hands everywhere. I touch my eggs in the pan to see if they're done. I touch everything. And so visualizing isn't just visual for me, it's multisensory, and it's more multisensory than it is visual. There's some visual aspect to it. You know, I do have some eyesight. I do have some very useful eyesight. So I use that, but mostly when I picture things, I'm not so much picturing a flower all on its own. I'm picturing the way it smells, the way that it feels, the way the petals feel. Are they soft and silky, or are they a little bit harder? How delicate are they? How many are there? Are we talking about a peony that has like layers upon layers upon layers of petals? Or are we talking about a black-eyed Susan that has just one layer of petals, but they're still very soft, but they're a little more droopy? You know, what are we talking about here? Thank you, Temi, for talking about your aphantasia and about how it affects you as an artist, because that really helped me to realize that I picture things differently from how most people do, or how most people likely do. And it really helped me to realize too when my teachers talk about picturing techniques, picturing games, picturing movements in my capoeira practice, realizing that I don't picture things as simply pictures, that I picture things in ways that are very active and very much rely on remembering feelings and remembering sounds and smells and tastes and everything else. That helped me sort of reconnect to my own, like to myself as I'm moving. It helped me feel more connected to my classmates and to my teachers, because I finally realized that maybe I can't picture two players playing a game of capoeira because I don't really have the visual reference for that, but I can remember what it feels like when I'm playing with my teacher and he's helping me figure out where he is and putting his forearms on my forearms, and we're actually moving, and what that feels like to feel that flow and connection. And that's really helped me to understand my game and my style a little bit more, and to actually feel less weird and less awkward as a student who's been there for 7 or 8 years. And so finally actually analyzing how I visualize things when I close my mind, how I imagine things, has really helped me to understand that when I am also trying to visualize a game, when I'm trying to imagine, okay, if my partner does X, what am I going to do? And starting to actually understand that I don't necessarily have to just see it, that I can remember how things feel, and I can remember, where a movement might come, if there's a kick coming to my side, and where that might land, and even if it doesn't land, how I'm going to feel, how my body's going to move, because I can remember how it feels, and I'm not trying to actually picture anything. I'm remembering sensations. And so learning how to draw and paint and digging deeper and finding other YouTubers who can talk about these kinds of things is really, really helpful for me, because it helps me understand how I actually see everything else, helping me understand how I visualize something, how I imagine something, helps me to also understand how I interact with the actual world around me. And so that's been very, very helpful. So I hope you have found this video interesting or helpful. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and tell me in the comments, how do you imagine things? When you close your eyes, do you see things? Do you feel things? Do you hear, smell, taste? What's going on in your head? All right, everyone. I hope you have an awesome day. Please remember to hit subscribe and to hit the notification bell if you would like to be updated every time I post a new video. And until next week,